If you learn just this one skill, it will AI-proof your career. I was around 27 years old when I learned this skill, and it really did turn my career around. It put me in a position where when time for layoffs came, I was one of the last people on the list let go if they had to let everybody go. And in several cases, specifically MCI WorldCom and Lucent Technologies, which was a spinoff of AT&T, they had to, the entire company had to go away before they got rid of me. And that specific skill is learn to observe your surroundings. Keep your ears open. Turn those overheard complaints into opportunities. Back in 1986, I was working as a driver for Domino's pizza delivery. That was back when they had that 30-minute rule. 30 minutes or less, or you get $2 or $3 off your pizza was the rule. But the thing that stuck with me, besides the fact that I wore out the brake pads on my truck driving 200 miles a night, was the standing rule that the phone had to be answered before the second ring or by the second ring. Third ring was too late. That was their level of customer service. That must have been a pain point that they must have researched over time. I know it's a hassle for me too when I'm calling up my pharmacy or just really any place, and it just rings and rings and rings and goes to voicemail or some automated system. I'm sure you hate it too. Can't get through to a real person anymore. But that was one of my first introductions to customer service, and it stuck with me. So when you're at your job, keep your ears open. Most of the time people will hear somebody else complaining. They'll say, oh man, the manager came in this morning, he's complaining about those reports being late again. That's an opportunity. While they're dismissing the manager and complaining that he's complaining, you make a note of it. Make sure your reports are turned in on time. It makes his life easier and puts you on the keeper list when it comes time to lay people off, or when AI makes people redundant. You got to treat your boss, your manager, and your customers all like customers. That doesn't mean you have to kill yourself or suck up. Just give them good customer service. So over time, I just developed a habit of keeping my ears open, listening for complaints, and then turning them into opportunities to do better customer service. Over time, it evolved to where I started taking care of the things that I didn't like when I got customer service, such as not knowing when someone's going to arrive. That's my biggest thing. I had an appointment set up to have my cable hooked up after the lawn guys had accidentally cut the cable. I waited 2 days for this appointment, so I had no internet for 2 days. The day of the appointment, it was set for around 4 p.m. I got a phone call from an unknown number. I didn't answer it. I took the time to look it up on the internet to make sure it wasn't a spam caller or a telemarketer. There was no voicemail, so I didn't know who it was. When I finally figured out it was my internet provider, I called the number back. And the guy said, oh yeah, well, I've already left. So I said, you didn't text me? You didn't leave a voicemail? You didn't call back a second time? You were 2 blocks from my apartment, and you chose not to leave me any kind of message? He goes, we call one time, and if you don't answer, we leave. After me waiting 2 days without internet and letting them know that I could not work from home because my internet was down. Finally got it fixed though. After another 2 days without internet, they finally got a guy out that showed up on time like he's supposed to, called me ahead of time, made sure I was happy before he left, and I made sure he put some armor around my internet cable outside the house so that the lawn guys could never cut it again. The second big mistake I made in my career was always thinking that my work could just speak for itself. I'm an introvert by nature, so I don't like to call a whole lot of attention to myself at work, or anywhere else for that matter. And I know that making the mistake of not being visible at work has cost me promotions and raises. I told myself I was going to start documenting things at work that I fixed that no one ever saw. I'd start the process, but eventually it became a chore. I had so much stuff on my plate that at the end of the day, I was just too mentally fatigued to sit there and figure out what I had done, who I'd done it for, and then file it away for a later date. But now with the help of AI, that's all fixed. AI does all the heavy lifting for me now. I've developed a complete prompt set. You take this one document, drop it into your favorite AI, it'll ask you a series of questions. It'll document those wins you had, all those little disasters you prevented before they happened, and once all you do it. Based on your answers, it'll suggest what AI should be taking over and the things that you should be focusing on. And at strategic points during the interview process, which takes about 5 to 10 minutes, it'll stop. It'll tell you what it knows so far. It'll ask you, is this okay? Do I need to modify it? Or do you approve it? So that's where you become the man in the middle. That's why I say AI assists, but humans approve. It's your judgment and your work knowledge that determines how AI does things. whether it should be used now, later, or at all. Once the interview's over, it'll create a document of all these wins that you can save for later and go back over when it's time for a performance review or even another job interview. You can tell it to craft you an email to send to your boss for like a once a week update on Fridays to let him know what you're working on, what you fixed, what's outstanding, and propose solutions for the problems. So he's keenly aware of what you're doing on the job and you're completely visible. There's a paper trail. So if you'd like this free document that you can just drop into your favorite AI, check the comments in the description for the link that gives you access to this free tool. AI Proof Your Career. 6 prompts to uncover your value, automate your grunt work, and become irreplaceable at work. Drop it into your favorite AI, and let it do the heavy lifting. Because if you don't document it, it didn't really happen, did it? And this is the thing most people don't think about.